because I know, that the value of free college courses is huge, right? Obviously, the money you don't have to spend on tuition. There's also the fact that if you do that for like 2 summers, you could accelerate your graduation. You can knock a lot of stuff out of the way. It would help you hit your majors faster. Might help you hit your minors faster if you do that. But like, what's the end goal of college, right? The end goal of college is to get this degree so you can get a higher paying job. But you want to be doing things in the meantime that you can add to your resume so that when you apply for certain jobs, right, they consider you more favorably. And the big one, which I think doesn't get mentioned enough, is that you can ask for a higher salary at the start, right? There's no reason, if you're doing, good work during your time in college, that you should start at the like bare minimum salary, especially if you, depending on your major and things like that. So when I was like thinking like this job or the extra summer classes, well, I was really thinking, well, the end goal when I finish and graduate out of here is to get a job, right? And so I need as much work experience as possible leading up to that. So I feel like the value of working over the summer, especially, depending on where you work, that job or that internship can look really good on a resume. The value of that long term, I think as of right now, is better than these extra college classes. The more work experience at like very reputable places before you graduate, I think the better. Just when it comes down to finally graduating and looking for that first like job out of college and being able to demand more from the potential employer, because you might get hit with the, oh, well, you're a college freshman stick, so we can only pay you this much. But you can go, well, no, I worked here, and here. I had an internship at like this place. Like, I know what I'm doing. You can't just offer me that. I'm prepared to work a job of this caliber because of the last 4 years of jobs I've been working prior to this. So, like, give me more money. So that's where my mindset is with this. We'll see. It's always the big we'll see waiting game, but we'll see. I want to speak a bit on networking too, I guess. Like I had this whole grand idea, like, okay, college would be the perfect time to network, and I've sucked at that, but that doesn't detract from college being this like great place to network. I guess it's about knowing how to find the right people and reach out to the right people. And so I've spent a lot of time talking to my academic advisor. I've chatted with him multiple times over the first mod about where I can start looking for job opportunities and internships in economics. Right now, he's my best resource, so I'm going to try to use that as much as I can. But like networking as a whole is kind of weird unless it's done virtually. I know for myself, I operate way better in an in-person space because I think it's a lot. Like, I think it's a lot easier to read the room and the people you're around when you're there in person. You can kind of like really feel the energy. Like Zoom is always awkward, whereas a person isn't always awkward. And so when it gets awkward, you can tell. You can go, oh, okay, like this is getting a little bit weird. And like a lot of the initial ideas I had about networking were going to in-person events. There's a website I think called Meetup or something like that has like tons of different things that it plans for you to attend and sort of go to. And being as young as I am, it's like everything, I see it more as a learning opportunity than as a necessarily as a place for me to go and sort of push myself, especially because, again, as far as professional experience goes, there really isn't much. So, I wanted to go to spaces where like I could listen to people speak and get people's information and have opportunities to communicate with them later. And I haven't honestly checked Meetup or any other like networking services too much, just because of this. Like, I don't know, I forged this notion in my head that there wouldn't be too much going on because people can't meet in person, but that's dumb. Obviously, I'm gating myself to opportunity for no reason. So I do think there's like a lot of potential when it comes to networking and things like that. So yeah, like on campus too. I mean, the extent of how well that works goes. I mean, meeting students works as a way to do that, although, you know, unless you're meeting people who aren't necessarily freshmen, sort of stepping outside of that realm, that of what you know, into a realm of like brand new information, it can get kind of hard. And so like looking for upperclassmen, I think, would be the better way to go about that. Again, like, these are not scientifically proven. This is just all conjecture on my end. I need to, and like, I know a good way to go about networking is trying to develop better relationships with your professors. So that's also something that's on the agenda. But again, doing that sort of over like a Zoom setting and like between emails, it's kind of weird. It doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know how else to put it. It just doesn't feel like as genuine. It doesn't feel like the sort of connections that you would build would be as strong. So that still feels kind of shaky, but it's definitely something in like the realm of things I think I need to be looking to do. Or it's just like, it's smart. It's not even like me per se. It's just a smart thing to do. Like, the big thing is like going to events and meeting career professionals in their sort of realm. I have a sort of weird opinion about jobs too. Like, I don't want to work here. When I first got out of college, nothing against the States. It's just that, like, you know, unless I get a job that, like, I don't know, the salary needs to be good enough where, okay, if I want to get a place, I can get a place. And like, obviously starting out, you know, the idea is that, okay, I'm gonna get this apartment or like live with roommates. And then after that, you need a car to live in the States. So it's like, okay, cool, I have to live for a car unless I move to a city. But then if I move to a city, rent goes up, and I'm not expecting to be able to buy a place straight out the gate. Like, that would be best case scenario. So I don't have to pay rent, but then I have to pay mortgage. Then there's like, okay, does your job have like health insurance, dental insurance, all that other stuff that it covers? So like, there's all these extra expenses you have to worry about after you get that job. It would just eat at your cash. Travel expenses as well, if that's on your agenda. And then like, will you have time to take vacations? Because I know in America, with the way they do vacations in a lot of places, it sucks. Like, you either get sick days or you get a week of vacation throughout the year. And, you know, again, fresh out of college, the sort of leniency you're going to get really depends on where you work. And most of the time, you're going to start at the bare minimum. So I don't want to work here. When I graduate, I want to go somewhere else internationally and work at a place. Because, like, working internationally, and I say this all the time to people I talk to, like, personally, but they will like pay for a lot more, and like they'll cover a lot more if you work as a foreigner in another country, especially in Asia. Just from my experience, like, you'll get a lot more in terms of benefits, healthcare, travel. Maybe they might cover your rent. It just depends on what type of job you're working. So that's where I was looking. If I do work in the States, at any point, I'd want it to be later, when things are more like figured out. When my resume looks beefier, when I go and apply for a higher paying salary. And like, there's always that weird question, like, okay, work straight out of college, like go get a master's degree, or like go back to graduate school or something. And for me, I know personally, like, I'm in a really good position to do that, to go straight back to graduate school, just because finances are looking good. But is that something I want to do? Like, do I want to do more school? Because once again, unless you're going into a career that is academia, the end goal of college, like I mentioned before, is to get a well-paying job, right? So do I go back to grad school? Do I go get a job? If I go get a job, I don't want it to be in the States. I don't think that's a good idea. I think, like, especially if you have student loans, working somewhere else first and then coming back to the U.S. is like a really good move. As far as expense, if you can go somewhere where they'll cover your rent, and then you could use the theoretical rent money you would spend to help pay off your student loans, that's like a way better financial decision. Of course, the cost of that is that, okay, you're away from friends and family for a little bit while you're doing that, but it, like, long term, I think it's a way smarter move to make. But yeah, like, those are the sort of things I'm thinking about. And if I work here too, like, I don't want my job to be my job and then work it until I'm 50. I think that's kind of a sad way to live, especially like, we don't really know what Social Security is going to look like, depending on how taxes look and how government programs are still funded. Because at least with the Trump administration, if we kept going in that direction, it looked like by the time I'm 60 years old, my Social Security benefits were going to be like awful or zero, just because the government's deficit is so large right now. It's huge. And so like that's like, these are all the things that you gotta like, that have to be on your mind, as you're here. And maybe I'm thinking like too far ahead, but I think this is a good place to be thinking now, so that I can be ready for it in the future. So it's not just some like, I'm lost and wondering, okay, I have this degree, what do I do now? That again, to me defeats the purpose of getting the degree in the first place. If you've gotten it and then you're confused, like, you should know why you're here at college if you're at college, or at least work to figure that out if you don't know when you first get here, so that by the time you do get close to graduating, you have an idea and you're like prepared as you can get, to start working or to start paying off debt or anything like that. Because like, no one wants to be stuck in the rat race. It'll eat you alive. And then life is just 9 to 5s until you retire. And it's like, it's a sucky way to spend your youth. There's only so much youth you get, working all of it to just like look forward to Saturday. It's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of a dreadful way to live. So yeah, like looking at these future options seems like a really big deal for me anyway. And so yeah, if I go abroad and I work, then the question becomes like, how long am I there for? Would I continue to just work abroad? Would I come back? I don't know. That's something that I honestly can't answer. Like, and I think that'll be pretty impossible to answer until graduate and I know what the job market looks like for me when I'm out of here at hopefully 22 years old. Which also, like, that's such a young age to be out of college, 22. Like, there's so much you can do before you're 30. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. Like, I've also thought about, like, okay, if I did stay in the States, like, what I would do, right? And then there's the whole, okay, well, the best way to make money in America is with a business. And so starting an LLC is, like, it's perfect. But then, like, what would you do? There's, like, tons of job opportunities if you started your own company. We try to make it way too grand. Sometimes, like, people really need the simple things. Like, my brother's a home inspector. And so, right, that it pays really well if it's your own business. And it's not this, like, I don't know. It's not just some think outside the box idea. You just do a little bit of like local market research and go, look, this place needs home inspectors. Bam, home inspector business. Like, oh, look, this place needs realtors. Bam, realty business. Oh, this place needs plumbers. Bam, plumbing business. Where like you're not the employee, you hire the employees. Oh, this place needs birthday party planners, because that's actually a thing I've seen people do and make good money doing. Bam, you become a birthday party planner. And if that's not something you're passionate about, well, then you go work your job and your side hustle is birthday party planning, where like you're the business, so then you pay those sorts of taxes instead, and then that income can go toward paying off loans or buying a house, while your regular job income is like your living expenses. I think I'm getting a little too complicated for this podcast, but like bigger picture financial stuff for when you're an adult, like that's the sort of stuff I'm thinking about. That's why I've made such a big emphasis on working as much as I can now and making money, because I think it's like everything's like setting yourself up. And so if there's an end goal, everything you do should be working toward the end goal. Like, I'm not going to put extra work toward the thing taking me to the end goal if I can already start hitting the end goal. What I mean by that, and I said this before when I was talking about like between taking the summer classes and the job, if my end goal is making money out of college, like working a job that pays me well, and college is only a means to an end, but I can also start working this job and start chipping at that end even faster, I'm not going to contribute more effort to one of the means if another form of means gets me closer to my end goal. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense, but I don't know if that makes full sense. If you have option A and option B, and both are meant to get you to your goal, right? And option A will get you there faster than B, even though, right, the benefits of B seem cool, or like B is what you signed up for. Don't let that idea like, well, I'm here and I'm doing this, so I have to keep doing it, make you avoid option A, because option A might push you a little bit further toward that end goal. So I guess like the big theme here is knowing what your end goal is, and then like making sure you do everything to work further toward that. And so employment and things like that sort of lead toward that. This podcast is like taking a completely different pivot from what I was initially talking about. But I think it's a good pivot. And so I think definitely like that's going to be the theme of this episode, sort of like determining your end goal, working toward your end goal, finances. Man, like I really wish Macalester offered a finances like sort of route, but that's another discussion for another day. But yeah, like I don't know.